Hey guys, Ms. Chenoweth here, and this is a series of color mixing videos that I'm going to be making. And this first one, I'm going to be working with just discovering the different color properties, hue, value, intensity, talk about saturation a little bit, and just exploring this idea of mastering the mix. All right, so the first thing I'm going to have you all do is take your cup, just an ordinary cup, and I'm going to have you just sketch around it and draw 3 circles. Okay, each one of the circles you are going to paint. This is for acrylic. You're going to paint 3 different primary colors. So basically you want all circles to sort of overlap each other. This will also give you a little bit of practice with learning brush control. All right, so I've got this set up. The other thing I'm going to do is we're going to look at a value scale and then also and then just like a little bit of hue mixing. All right, so I'm just going to do about a 4-inch rectangle like this, and then I'm going to do another 4-inch rectangle over here so that we can just kind of play around with mixing colors. Alrighty, and this will just, also give you some opportunity to practice brush strokes and skills and things like that. Just get you a little more familiar with the media. All right, so I'm going to start with setting up my palette, and what I recommend that you do is just use a small amount. Generally, I'll use more of the lighter colors than some of the darker colors, so just keep that in mind. I'm going to keep my primary colors, and for this we're just using primary yellow, blue, and red. All right, and the blue that I'm using, there's so many different types of blue. This is a cobalt blue. A primary blue would be good to use. You could use like a cerulean blue, which is another sort of light color blue. All right, and I'm just going to keep some of my red over here. Red also comes in a lot of different colors. Notice I'm not totally filling up the wells. I'm just kind of like putting a small amount in each one. And then I'm going to use white so that we can also get some different values. All right, I'll come back to that white because right now that is really hard in there. All right, so the very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to wet the brush so that it's ready to take some paint. But I'm also going to use my paper towel just to blot it so the color doesn't get all drippy and transparent. I'm just going to start with the lightest color, and I'm going to get a pretty good amount of it on my palette. And then just go ahead and fill in your first circle. Right, and you can see that yellow is kind of thin and transparent. You can see the pencil lines through it. The higher quality paint that you get, the less transparent it is. All right, so when I'm trying to fill in a shape, just a little tip, I like to go around the edge and then kind of fill in. Doesn't really matter which brush you use. This one is a round brush. You could use a square brush. Whatever you prefer is fine. All right, then I'm going to rinse my brush so I don't taint it. I really want to get a pure hue. Just a tip, as you're rinsing the brush, really make the brush hit the bottom of the cup and really just wash it out as best you can. All right, same technique. I'm going to blot off the brush and I'm also seeing some yellow, so it's just a nice way to clean it out. You could also use separate brushes for each one. All right, and then I'm going to take the red, kind of a big amount there, which is fine. And then I'm just going to sort of spread it around, and then I'll save the mixing part till last. All right, so I'm just going to get that really nice, pure, beautiful red hue. This paint feels kind of dry and thick, actually, so I may want to take a little bit of water actually and mix it in here with it. And you can see it's much less transparent than the last color that I used, that yellow. All right, so now that I've sort of filled that sort of shape there, now I'm going to go ahead and just sort of see if I can't mix it with the yellow. And you can see it mixes a little bit just to learn a little bit more about the color. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to rinse my brush out again, blot it off. I'm going to get a little more yellow, And I'm going to actually mix some of the red and yellow here, and then just kind of like fill in those two colors. All right, so anyway, point being, you want to learn what color you get when you mix those two primaries. All righty, so now you can see it's kind of orangey looking. It's dark orange. As you can see, the red really taints the yellow really quickly. All right, so now I'm going to go to my blue. Now that I've got my brush all rinsed out really well, put a pretty large amount in the center there. And what I kind of do is I sort of spin the brush in my hand in order to get to the edge there and make it nice and clean and try to get the paint to go where I want it to go. Got a little lumpy there, but that's okay. Cut it right to the edge there. And that's a pretty good amount of paint there. And now I'm just going to sort of mix it, and it doesn't mix very well because that yellow has already dried out. All right, so I'm going to come back over with some yellow. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to use use what's remaining in my brush here, and I'm going to rinse that out so I don't mess up the yellow. You can see I got a little bit of red in there, and it's already looking slightly orange. Yeah, should have rinsed it some more. All right, so then I'm going to take this and see if I can, and try to just see what kind of colors I'm getting. All right, so I've got a very dark, kind of like foresty green. All right, now next up, what happens now when I take that blue, just a little bit of that blue or that green, and I now mix it together in the center. And it looks like I got too much water on my brush. That's what it looks like. And then what color results by mixing? And I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do it here. Take a little bit of blue, a little bit of red, a little bit of blue, sorry, and some of this yellow, and try to get equal parts of it. What color is going to result from that? And generally what you will see is kind of like a brown or even kind of like a grayish color. So when you put those three primaries together, they sort of neutralize each other. And that's what a neutral color is. All right, so simple experiment right there. Taking three primary colors, all right, and getting a secondary. So we have a secondary color that sort of results in between when the two are mixed. Another secondary color here. And then, oh, you know what? I didn't mix those two. All right, so let's go back. And what happens when mixing, and I'm just going to do it on the palette because that red's already dried and it's not really going to mix. All right, so you start to see the purple coming out, or the violet. I'm glad I started to write that down because I would have missed that. All right, so then you can kind of see we've got a purple hue right there. All right, so there's our other secondary right in there, which is violet. You've got green and you've got orange, and then the three primaries, of course. All right, is here, another primary, and then your third primary here. Alrighty, so just like a nice way to figure out color in the color theory, you can take this even further and you can mix other colors in here, tertiary colors, but that's something you can explore on your own if you like. All right, so here's the next thing I want to do is we're going to look at color value. All right, so one of the properties of color, besides hue, naming what colors each of these are, is value. And value is basically the lightness or the darkness of color. So we're gonna, instead of, a lot of times you can use black, but I try to avoid using black. So I'm just gonna pick one of these colors and I'm gonna go with red. All right, and I'm gonna just sort of start in the middle here.